things are moving. Oh dear Lord. Here, take this. Take this. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathleen and here we talk about all things bookish, and today is no different as I will be diving into a reading vlog where I will be reading Saltbones by Jennifer Givhan. This is my first book with this author and I just heard the synopsis, I saw the cover, and I thought this is going to be the perfect book for October in a spooky season, and let me tell you, a time was had. So let's jump into the synopsis and see what it's all about. So it says, Malamar Veracruz has never left the dust-choked town of El Valle. Here, Mal has done her best to build a good life. She's raised 2 children, worked hard, and tried to forget the painful, unexplained disappearance of her sister Elena. But when another local girl goes missing, Mal plunges into a fresh yet familiar nightmare. As a desperate Mal hunts for answers, her search becomes increasingly tangled with inscrutable visions of a horse-headed woman, a legend locals call La Cigudapa, whom Mal feels compelled to follow. Mal's perspective is joined by the voices of her 2 daughters, and the 3 of them must work to uncover the truth about the missing girls in their community before it's too late. Combining elements of Latina and indigenous culture, family drama, mystery, horror, and magical realism in a spellbinding mix, Saltbones explores the long shadows cast by environmental catastrophe, family secrets, and the unrelenting bond between mothers and daughters. So this is and was definitely a time. So let's go ahead and jump into the video and see what this is all about. Hi friends, so it is time for a 53% update as I am 53% of my way into Saltbones by Jennifer Givhan. And you're probably going to see Prince hopping around. He just got his bark box today, so he is very excited. And yeah, he's going to be on one. So don't pay attention to him. But anyways, let's talk about Saltbones. Okay, so we've seen a lot happening when it comes to the story, when it comes to the content of this novel. So at this point, we are kind of experiencing what I'm presuming or I'm guessing to be the main conflict in this story. There were some things that were happening that built up to this conflict transpiring and happening that we now see our characters experiencing and going through. But yeah, things are happening. Things are moving. We're seeing this kind of mystery unfold, and we're seeing a lot of suspicious characters, potential, I don't want to say villains, but potential characters that may or may not have had a play or have something to do with this main conflict. And we're kind of seeing that as, you know, suspicion is being cast and spread hilter-tilter everywhere. Also with this conflict, it is creating a lot of emotions with Mal, one of the main characters, and we're seeing it dredge up a lot of her unresolved trauma in regards to what happened to her sister Elena and her disappearance. And we're seeing her trying to grapple and make sense of this and make sense of all of that while also trying to stay focused and present in this conflict, in this situation. But she can't help but slip back and think of the past and kind of let that kind of overtake her and create a lot of anxiety within her. And we're seeing her kind of work through that. And we're seeing her also just feel so much guilt and responsibility for the current situation and also for what happened with her sister. We're seeing her explore that, all of this trauma, her personal trauma. And we're also seeing the family kind of going through their shared family trauma and unpacking everything as this current event and situation unfolds. So we're seeing that happen, and it's giving a lot of not context, but it's giving us a lot to kind of see as we're diving in to the theme of generational trauma and family trauma and grief. So we're seeing a lot of movement happening there, and how this event in the past with her sister Elena disappearing has impacted this family for generations, and we're kind of seeing that. Also, let's talk about the writing style. So when it comes to the writing style, I fear that this has really made this author stand out to me. I have not read anything by Jennifer Givhan before. This, like I said, I got Salt Bones in an Aardvark book box. It was my pick for that month. And yeah, I just picked it because the synopsis sounded great, the book was beautiful, and I went for it. So I'm having a fabulous time with this. Because of that, this writing style is really standing out to me. Jennifer Givhan's writing style is really something that I love and I enjoy and I look for when it comes to different authors, just across genres, period. It's just speaking to me. And the primary reason why I'm having such a gale time with this writing and with her prose is that she is able to construct and create such vivid, palpable imagery through the way that she is constructing her words. It's in every bit of her writing that you get the feel that it's very intentional and it's very thought out. There's nothing to chance, and she does a great job of building and creating suspense, building and creating this atmosphere, making you feel different emotions and kind of guiding you through this story. And she's doing it so very well. Like, I can literally feel in different scenes, I can feel with my senses. Like, I can smell what the characters are smelling. I can hear what they're hearing. I can literally feel like their fear. I can feel their anger. I can feel their disgust. I can feel all of these feelings because she does such a good job of describing these different things. Such a good job of really building out a scene while also doing a tremendously wonderful job of giving you context for everything. So she knows how to, especially with her kind of like going back and forth between Spanish and English, she does it in such a flawless way where she doesn't leave you in the dark and trying to figure out what they're saying, but she provides you with enough context so that you understand what they're saying without necessarily having to like take a Spanish lesson or go to even Google Translate and decode anything. She's just so good at that. Even just explaining maybe concepts or things that you're not familiar with. She has a very wonderful way of making all of this approachable and enjoyable, and I'm really enjoying that about her writing. Like, you can tell that she's a well-seasoned writer. Like, this isn't her first go around, and I'm enjoying it. Now, when it comes to the overall structure of this story, I feel that it's very grounded, and that she takes you on this journey scene by scene, bit by bit. Why is my dog quiet? Stop. Anyway, sorry. She has a way of taking you through this story bit by bit and allowing it to unfold. She doesn't rush you. She takes her time, but she does it at a steady pace. The only thing that I felt was kind of like jarring and that didn't make sense to me and doesn't make sense to me at this current time is we kind of had a random flashback that was introduced into the storyline, and I'm not sure what the purpose or the intent for that was. But I'm gathering that maybe as I proceed into the story and as we get a little bit deeper into things, it'll all kind of make sense. But as it stands right now, it's a little, I don't know what that was about. No, it's a little jarring. But we're just going to take that and put that on pause for right now. And when it comes to the readability, it still, to me, is very readable and approachable for a wide array of readers. Even with, like I was mentioning earlier, the Spanish English kind of going back and forth with the Spanish English. I'm sorry, guys. It still remains very readable and enjoyable. Again, she gives you context so that you're not left in the dark trying to figure out what they mean and feeling like you're missing pieces of the story. She does use some modern day kind of like slang or vernacular that's more common with like Gen Z. But, and some might get the ick from that. If you are a person that does not like to see kind of like modern day slang or words that we use in our everyday life in novels or in stories, it might give you the ick and you might be like, oh my gosh, it's gross. It's not enough to like be very noticeable, but it does happen, and some people might take issue with that. I personally do not. I think that it's completely fine, and it makes sense in the context as the person who was using this vernacular and who was speaking like this is a person that is Gen X. So, or not Gen X, I'm sorry, Gen Z. So it makes perfect sense, and I understand that it doesn't seem awkward or out of place or like the author herself is trying. So it makes perfect sense. When it comes to the plot, I feel like there is a lot of action, there are a lot of moving pieces, and there are a lot of things happening that are moving the story along. As I mentioned earlier, we had some things that were happening a little bit earlier that did its job of like giving some suspense, making you feel kind of like foreboding and, you know, whispering of things to come as we have gotten to like this high point or main conflict in the story. And I'm just curious, and I predict that perhaps a lot of the little events that took place, these kind of subplots, will probably tie into the main conflict, and that it will all come together and make sense. We're just seeing bits and pieces of a picture, so to speak. When it comes to the pacing, I feel like the pacing is perfect. It's not too fast where you can't keep up and it's just feeling like things are moving at a too fast of a clip where you can't enjoy the story, but it's not too slow where you're getting bored and where you're kind of feeling like it's dragging. It is the perfect pace, this medium buildup of all these different things and all these different like the plots and the subplots. It's the perfect pacing for this story. The only part of the plot that I'm not really sure, or the only really thing that's happening that I'm not really sure what to make of, is the references to La Simonaba. We have some references here and there of her, mostly in Mal's narrative. She talks about La Simonaba and her seeing La Simonaba when her sister Elena went missing. And now how she kind of like disassociates and she'll see visions of La Simonaba. She'll smell scents and odors that signify that La Simonaba is in the area. But it hasn't really had any impact on the actual story. We don't see other characters talking about a single novel. We just know of it as a legend. They're not speaking of any instances or things happening with her. It's mostly just Mal. So I don't know if this is going to be something that plays into the story, plays into the plot, or if this is just perhaps a motive that signifies these different girls disappearing, and it's kind of speaking to that, and that we're going to see that repeated throughout. And it's kind of one of those things that maybe is used as a motive. Maybe it is going to have some impact on the story later on down the line, but that's the only kind of thing that I can't necessarily flesh out and make sense of right now at this moment. When it comes to the character development, this is another element of the story that I feel is well done to perfection. At this point, we have a great grasp and understanding of each of these characters, their motivations, who they are, their personality, their pain points, their flaws, and their individual and unique issues or conflicts. So when it comes to Mal, we see her as this strong, kick-ass, badass mom who loves her children, loves her two daughters with all of her heart, possibly a little bit too much as to where she's maybe transferring some of her guilt and some of her kind of trauma issues onto her daughters, and is a little bit of a helicopter mom, a little bit too into their life and has crossed some boundaries with them, but it's all out of love. And again, I feel like the response is due to the trauma and the guilt of losing her sister and how that impacted her, how her mother and her had a bad relationship, and maybe she's overcompensating with her daughters because she doesn't want that kind of relationship with them. But you know that she will do anything for her girls. You know that she takes no shit. She's really this badass woman, and she wants her daughters to break free of this town. She wants them to be able to leave El Valle and make something of their lives and become something and take it further than what she did, which is, I feel like, a lot of instances when it comes to many different families who, oh gee, award. Here, take this. I feel like that's common with a lot of families where their children are going to be the next generation that can go to college and that can succeed and that can take things a little bit further than that. And we can see that that's something that Cal desires for her children, her daughters as well. But while desiring that and her wanting them to break out of El Valle because it is a dead-end, nowhere town, she does feel a little bit of fear, and she is scared of them leaving her and her being alone and her not having anyone and just being trapped with her mom and her dad and her disjointed family, as they all have their issues and they're all not really connected with each other. She's kind of fearful of that and where that will leave her and where she will stand with that. And that's kind of where her feeling and her in a nutshell. And when it comes to her oldest daughter, Griselda, she wants to break out of El Valle. She's currently attending college in San Diego, and she wants to be a scientist. She wants to be able to understand about it. She's very fascinated with ecology. She wants to learn how to improve conditions in El Valle from what has happened due to the farming practices there and due to them basically stripping and just destroying the land and kind of leading them towards ecological collapse. And she's wanting to do something to fix it, to better the community, and to leave something for her family as well. But there's also that pull to just get away, abandon ship because of all the dysfunction, all the craziness, all of the trauma, and just kind of the responsibility and the fact that she bears this striking resemblance to her Aunt Elena, a woman that she never met. And her grandmother, even with her dementia and her memory, still sees her as Elena, and how that is like this weight upon her, this guilt. And she's always feeling like she's trying to bridge the gap between her grandmother and her mother, and all of the different cascading feelings that she feels that makes her want to escape. She has this boyfriend, or this ex-boyfriend, where they're on again, off again, Harlan. He's linked to the Callahan family, which is the big bad in this story because they're the ones that brought the farming there. They're the ones who kind of colonized the area, colonized the land, if you will, took it from her father's people, and in essence destroyed the land due to their farming practices. And they just stripped the land of all of its resources. and she's dating their son, who is the antithesis of what they are. He is rebelling against all that they have taught him, all that they want him to do, and is trying to infiltrate and tear down his father's company, his brand from the inside out. And while she supports him, and while they love each other and there's love there, she also knows that he is going to get her and keep her trapped in El Valle. So she has one foot in and one foot out. And she's kind of striking that balance of what is she going to do. When it comes to Emerata, she is the youngest daughter. She is a very young teenager, so she's going through that awkward phase of trying to figure out herself, trying to figure out her identity and who she is in this world. And she discovered some information about her mother that it shocked and surprised her, and it changed her opinion of her. And now she doesn't know what to do with that. She wants to confront her mother, but she's kind of nervous and is scared to confront her mother because she doesn't want this idea, this image, this thought that she has of her mother to change and to alter. But she also desperately wants to break free of her mother and kind of figure out her own identity, figure out her own mind, find out the truth about what happened with Elena's disappearance and what's happening in this town, and uncover all these secrets that are hidden within their family and that are also hidden within this town. And that is what she is trying to do, all while coming to terms with her sexuality, with this kind of change in her friendship, where she's sort of kind of dating her best friend, but she's really into this other girl, and she's just trying to make sense of all of these interpersonal relationships, her family, and existing in this reality in this town. So those are the different characters, and like I said, you feel them, you understand them, you clearly see their motivations, you clearly see their pain points, you see their flaws, and you have a great grasp and understanding of what's going on with each of them. They're very dynamic, there are a lot of layers, and I'm enjoying reading about them. And to wrap all of this up for this update, I would say my overall experience has been fabulous. I'm enjoying this book. My God, this dog. Anyways, I'm enjoying this book. I'm having a great time reading it. The highlights for me is definitely going to be the writing. It's definitely going to be the atmosphere. And most definitely it's going to be that these characters are so well written. And I'm having a fabulous time reading this book. I am about to start reading it again right now because I have a little bit more to read today to reach my reading goal. And I will hop back on and give you another update before we finish out this book. Oh my God, what is this dog doing? Okay, let me see what he's doing and get into reading, and I will update you guys a little later. All right, friends, so I'm here to wrap up this video for Salt Bones by Jennifer Givhan. This was an exceptional book, definitely a top tier reading experience, top tier novel. I had a fabulous time with this. I appreciated and I really enjoyed Jennifer Givhan's writing style. It's definitely up my alley, something that I would enjoy. Her prose, which was very lyrical, it had a lot of metaphorical imagery that made it such a rich, palpable, visceral reading experience. I also really appreciated the way that she structured and told the story. I liked being able to kind of see Mal's point of view and kind of feel and understand what Mal was going through, and also see Griselda and Amaranta's point of view and kind of understand the story from their perspective. It made it feel very... When it comes to readability, I think that the readability for this is great. I feel like you would be able to really dive into and become immersed and obsessed with this story, as she does such a good job in the opening sequence to really grab your attention and like pull you into the story and make you want to find out what exactly is going on and how everything happens to get you there. The only thing that I would say that for some people that might be a roadblock or a challenge is she does go in between English and Spanish or Spanglish quite frequently, and she doesn't always give you the verbatim translation, and for some that might be a put off, but I really don't think that that should put you off from the story or take you out of the story. You can use Google Translate to look up the meaning of these phrases and whatnot and be able to enjoy and appreciate this story. And I feel like also that gives it so much more cultural weight and appreciation for just the beauty of this story. So I wouldn't say to let that like interfere with you. Aside from that, this is a very readable story. When it comes to the plotting, I appreciate the plot. I felt like the pacing was steady throughout this story. She was able to really do a great job of building suspense, providing ample twist to kind of keep the story moving forward and to maintain your interest. She did a great job of balancing the more actionable, plot-driven, external plot points with the more internal, character-driven plot points, making it well-rounded. And we can see that each of these characters kind of have a character arc and a change that they kind of go through throughout the story when it comes to their relationship and when it comes to the different pain points that each of these characters had. When it comes to the I forgot what I was going to say. I think I already said it. I was talking about the characters. But yeah, the characterization was very well done as well. They had so much depth. They felt very real. You could feel and identify with their pain points. I also really appreciate and enjoyed the themes in this novel. You get to see so much about mother-daughter relationships, especially throughout generations of a family. You can see how generational trauma can impact a family and how just it takes just one person to change the course for the future generations that are to come by making the decision to actually deal with and work through that trauma, unpack it, and find ways of healing. I appreciated that we saw that in this story with Mal's character. Such a beautiful way to have a strong, dynamic, and flawed character, but to show her doing the work and going through the process of dealing with her trauma and learning ways to heal from it. And that we got to see that on page as she does talk about going to therapy and learning these different techniques and ways of dealing with her anxiety and dealing with some of the things that she's going with emotionally and mentally, and being able to see that on page. I appreciated it so very much. I also appreciated the way that she was speaking about how the grief and the burden that many mothers feel that have missing daughters, specifically when it comes to Black and brown women who have missing daughters, that it's often that their daughters go missing and they don't get any justice, they don't get any resolution, they don't get any closure, because there's always some kind of excuse that's given as if they've run away and that nothing could have befell them. They just chose to run away or chose to leave home, or it's something simple and not to be worried about it. How these cases and these instances, they're not getting enough news coverage. They're not getting enough people that are trying to like look into what happened to these women. And we see how that long-standing grief can impact a family over generations, can impact a community. We also see how within communities, these deep-rooted secrets that are left to fester can impact communities and can impact families in a negative way. I also appreciated the kind of folklore aspect with the story of La Sigonaba and El Kukui, and how that played an integral part into the themes and into this story. I thought that it was masterfully done. Yeah, I have no critiques, no anything. This was a fabulous book, a fabulous read. 5 fabulous stars. I enjoyed this so very much. And I highly recommend this for those who like a Gothic horror that's kind of blended with like Mexican, Latin folklore, that is very atmospheric, has very beautiful lyrical prose, and that is tackling some very complex issues in its themes regarding Black and brown women going missing, regarding generational trauma, regarding mother-daughter relationships, and regarding a fractured kind of community. This is a really good story to explore and to read. Yeah, I had a really good time with this one. So that is all for this vlog. If you've read this, please let me know what your thoughts and what your experience was with it. And yeah, that's it. Sorry, I'm so tired. But that is it for this vlog. I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. Also, if you want a little more of me, you can go ahead and go into the description box and make sure to join my email list, where you can get newsletters that I send out pretty much 2 times a week. I try to send out newsletters so you can have a little bit more contact with me. Make sure that you're going in the description box and connecting with me across all my socials. And if you're looking for a book club to join, definitely check out the Empowerlit Book Club. I will leave a link again in the description box. This month we are reading The Possession of Abadias by Isabel Cañas, who is one of my authors to watch, and I have very much appreciated all of her work, so I'm excited to dive into that. We do meet on November the 1st, so you still have time to join the book club and start reading The Possession of Abadias and join in all of the fun. And until next time, happy reading, my friends, and I will see you in the next video.